Recording in progress.
Calling to, can you guys hear me? Calling to order the January 12th, 2026 Board of Library Trustees meeting. Do we have anybody online or in email for public comment? Okay. Did we get any?
Nothing in the mailbox except for as to.
4 is a quorum.
I'll just say to the, for trustees, there is an email about a trustee orientation session. I don't know if anyone has done that or is interested, but they are coming up. It's a 4-week course.
Wow.
This is a volunteer position. If anyone's interested in a 4-week course.
I think it's just 4
please reach out to me.
sessions, 4 sessions.
No, it's a 4-week course.
No, but I'm saying it's 1 hour or whatever. It's not like
Not
4,
5 days
it's
a
not
week.
5 days a week, 4, yeah.
3 hours on Saturday.
But otherwise that is.
Sounds like these are quiet tonight. You guys hear me all right? Doesn't sound like it's amplified.
I did lower the amplification,
Perfect.
but
Just so I know it.
I'm just
'cause,
hoping
I'm
it's,
used to hearing boom.
I know, actually, I guess oh, there's my net. It's okay. I do notice that Joe McDonough is online, and maybe if he could give a thumbs up or tell us whether he can actually hear us.
Hello, Mike.
Yes, yeah, I can hear you well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe.
Thanks, Amy.
Oh, Joe's on. Next item on the agenda is the community outreach and engagement update.
That's me. And you're right. I feel like I have to hold it really close like that. All right. So I agree. I feel like I have to hold it really close to my face. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't. Okay. Anyway. All right. So, this is about our outreach and communication, and engagement. And, here you can see what outreach means and what community engagement means. They're both a little bit different. And so there's just the definition. So this past year, the library continued to turn outward to serve the community's needs through extensive outreach and engagement. A goal moving forward is to reach those who don't know about our services and programs. Library staff are creating surveys and focus groups that target those community members. Staff members visited Frank Tanner and other elder housing for librarians and lemonade listening sessions. At those sessions, they discussed the services the library provides and received feedback from residents. So they went a couple times for that. With the departure of 3 of our public services staff members, we have had to regroup, and we're going to continue focusing on our action plan, which includes engaging with the community as co-creators in library programs, services, and design, and providing access to the community members where they are. So what does that mean? It means basically when we get together with these groups, we're going to be asking them what they need, not just deciding for them what we think they need. Sorry, I'm reading from my thing and now I went off script, but now go back on script. The library participated in town events throughout the year, such as the Fall Street Fair, Friends and Family Day, school events such as the Art Fest, the Downtown Trick or Treat, and the Reading Garden Club. We are visited at these events by both those familiar with the library and those new to it. The Fall Street Fair, in particular, brings new residents to our booth. But at the most recent fair, even with the rainy weather, we had over 180 visitors. And at the Friends and Family Day in June, we had over 245 visitors. The library and staff The library and library staff serve as liaisons to local organizations, including the Coalition, the Reading Lions Club, the Health Department, the Reading Garden Club, Cato, the Reading and North Reading Chamber of Commerce, HRAC, the North Suburban Child and Family Resource Network, Northeast ARC, and the Children's Cabinet. Through these liaisons, we've brought the library out to the community and hosted events here at the library, such as the multilanguage summer sessions, where in August we have students from the schools and their teachers come here several on Tuesday and Wednesday mornings, and they have lunch here, and they get together with their classmates, and they learn. And then they also get used to the library. So they often will go upstairs to the children's room, and it just makes it much more of a familiar place for them to go and to visit. We also hosted the Northeast ARC Adults with Autism Resource Fair, flu shot clinics, tax help for older adults, and Mandarin story times. In the coming year, we're going to be hosting the ACE Game Changer series. And so that the ACE, as you might know, they are the ad hoc commission or committee that is working on Bill Russell's history and legacy in Reading. And so they'll be doing book discussions and showing movies. And we are going to be providing the resources for them and the space. We've also going to be providing CPR training through the health department, and there will be Portuguese story times through the multi-language learners, and that will be starting in March. And I just received an email from Northeast ARC about also doing another art fair. You can. There's pictures. As we can, I'm sorry. So yeah, you could go to the next slide. All right, here. Okay, so here we had our, if you go back one. So we had 8 community events. We had 2 lemonade librarians and listening sessions, 6 multilingual summer sessions here at the library, and 5 deposit collections. We also did several of our book bike visits to the Memorial Park for the Wednesday mornings Reading Rec programs. And I do have a little bit of a feedback from that. At one of the visits to the Reading Recreation Memorial Park concerts, the performer Matt Heaton gave a shout out to the library book bike, dedicated a song about the library, and changed the lyrics of a song to reference a canary at the Reading Public Library. Most kids were dancing and engaged throughout the concert, and it seemed grown-ups had a good time too. And Matt Heaton is going to be performing here at the library, so there was a connection that way as well. Library staff is going to be working with the town community services as they plan recal. When the recal project is complete, the library will be looking for ways to engage and support older adults and the elder services division. We're looking forward to that. And let me see, what else is there anything else? We also, because we're doing this role, we have developed an internal program partnership procedures and best practices, including a checklist for us and also something that we can provide to those who want to work with us so that we're all on the same page about what we can offer and what just the best way for us to work together. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you very much. It was lovely.
We do a lot.
Yeah, you guys do. Yeah. People forget that it's not just what happens in this building. Every time you do one of those, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, yeah, we do a lot.
Others
We do a lot outside the building.
outreach. Wow. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the financial. I should just group these together.
I know.
Always does.
I know. They're always together.
Financial directors report. Director.
Share my screen. There's really nothing to report on the general municipal FY26 budget. I will just say too that I'll just go a very brief overview over the FY26 supplemental spending mid-year update. Basically, we're doing great. We are, below where we expected to be, which is good. Although it's always in the second half of the year that we have a lot more professional development. It's when our municipal budget starts getting a little tighter, so we might buy more materials. We will definitely be spending more on equipment and furnishings. We have a lot of plans to add more seating outside, some Polywood picnic table and maybe some extra chairs, maybe a new cafe seating or something area for the new patio area that's out there. So we fully expect to be using most of the money that we had set aside from the 3 categories of state aid, gifts, and trusts. The only thing I'll just remind you of is that when it comes to trust spending, our trusts have been earning interest. So, sorry, this is very hard to navigate. So our trusts do earn interest, which is nice because when we leave money in our gift account or in the state aid account, it doesn't actually gain interest. So there's always an incentive for us to use the state aid and the gifts before we get down to the trust. And the flip side to that is that we want to spend the money, the trust money, because people gave the money for these purposes. So we just try to balance that. But a decent portion of that trust money was spent, it's actually from gifts, was spent on the planning and development for the library terrace. That's probably the biggest thing that we spent money on. Are there any questions about our supplemental spending? Again, we're trying to be very judicious. We do need to spend a certain amount for the auditors. But we also don't want to, we want to be, just as we do with our municipal funds, we want to be wise in our spending. We do expect to have more professional development costs. We have a tuition reimbursement for people working on usually their library degrees or related degrees. And we do have several library students. So we just had, in one of the most recent warrants, I believe we had a tuition reimbursement for one library person who finished their library degree, which was very exciting. And we have a couple more that are, one that's looking into starting a program, and we may even have one more on tap. So we expect to have those tuition reimbursements coming through, and that's often where we get use when we use our supplemental spending for that. So,
Amy,
yes.
I know that if you go back a slide.
Yep.
When you use gift or trust money.
Recording
for-
stopped.
Oops. Okay. Do you want to try again?
I'm still on.
Recording in progress.
There we go. Okay. Sorry about that.
I was just going to say, I know that like when we use gift or trust money for equipment or materials, you put something in there that says, thanks to a generous donation from this trust or this organization.
Yeah.
But when it's used for, if you scroll down a little bit, there was something there that said miscellaneous. Like, how do you acknowledge that? Because I think it's important to acknowledge.
Oh, miscellaneous?
Yeah, I mean, both as a thank you
Yeah.
to whoever did it, but I think it's also for any future donors.
Yeah.
It's important for them to see how appreciated the gifts are and that the gifts are being used. I think
Right.
it encourages future giving to understand that we do use the money wisely.
Yeah. Miscellaneous is often things like supplies, or I need to come up with a better word, but it is also things like taking care of our gerbil and our tortoise and and things like that. And I appreciate your point, which is how do we recognize that we're not spending taxpayer dollars to buy the tortoise their food, but at the same time we really appreciate, so we're being mindful of our municipal spending, but we are very very appreciative of donors who leave the dollar in the basket, or give us a little donation in memory of someone's service, that we use those donations to really flesh out beyond the books and beyond the reference questions. So I don't know how to do that, but it's a good question to ponder. So I welcome ideas.
Yeah.
It also might just be maybe at the year end, when I do the year end wrap up, in addition to doing, the close of the fiscal year to say just a really high 10,000 foot overview of here are a few things that our supplemental spending went to. Tuition reimbursement for someone who finished their library degree, taking care of our library pets, purchasing picnic tables for outside, so something that doesn't itemize the pencils, but that
Right.
that can really kind of get back to here are the materials, or we were able to get to try this new database for a year because we had extra money in our and that's often what we do at the end of the year is we're trying new databases, and those can be $1,000 to $3,000 a pop, and so it might be able to a nice sort of wrap up at the end of the year to do the fiscal year close for the municipal spending, which is fairly 81% salaries, and then something to do with the supplemental spending. So that might be a nice to put into an annual report or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. I like that idea. Thank you.
Great question.
Anything else on the financial or the director's report? Any questions, concerns, thoughts? Oh, seriously? Okay, well, the next, oh,
No, but do you want to just, for people who didn't watch the FinCom and or select board,
Oh yeah.
largely, no question.
Yes.
She did wonderful.
Thank you.
For those who didn't view it, her PowerPoint got a
That's great.
specific
Shout
shout
out.
out by the
Yes,
co-chair
it
of the
was
select
nice.
board, who commented
Um,
on it was the best PowerPoint
Yes, ever.
he has seen
In a while.
in both
Yes.
town work as well as his private
all animated,
work.
wasn't it? Just
Yeah.
Yes, and everyone else in the room, I assume, just slunk down. in their
Yeah.
seat
No,
when
I
it's on
did.
the
I did.
agenda.
I did as well. No, it was good. And I will say, this is just an incredible team to work with across the town department. Sharon Engstrom, our town accountant, is absolutely amazing. This is a really, really, really tight year. I sometimes will say like, oh, we're only 1.6% of the budget and whatever, taking X amount of money, taking this small amount of money in a $150 million budget's not going to make that much of a difference, but it does. Because if I can find a way to save $5,000 or cut something overall cut, then, that might be something small in DPW or accounting or in finance or in public services that they can do that might be professional development. It might be other things. So Sharon goes through and there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background to try and balance these budgets. And I can imagine a situation where it's much more adversarial, but the departments really, really do work together, down to the fact that the schools are also working with the town department and we kind of work out these little deals. So Sharon works out these little deals. So it was very tight. There were some standard questions, one of which was overtime. Every department was asked about their overtime budget. Our overtime budget is a little bit different in that it is used for true overtime, which is sort of when we ask someone to come out on a Saturday after they've worked 5 days in a row and now they're working the friends and family day or something like that. But it is also used for Sundays, and it's used not so much as overtime in that context, but as a premium pay differential, which is why we're able to staff our Sundays. So, I answered that as best as we could, which is we want to be open Sundays. This is not on a regular, it's outside everybody's regular hours. For anyone who works full time, it would naturally be, but overtime, but it also allows us to get substitutes at that premium pay differential. So they might be working 5 days elsewhere, but they can get time and a half if they work here extra on a Sunday. So it actually is very important for us to do that. There were questions about if we, there were some questions that were too complex to answer, which is, well, could we just be closed on Wednesday evenings and then open Sundays? Would that save any time? And it sounds like a very simple question, but it's very complex because it doesn't necessarily change other people. What they're essentially saying is there any way you can reduce the salaries? And any way we go to reduce the salaries is not good for our employee retention. It doesn't, the savings would be actually minimal compared to the losses that we would have. So there were a lot of questions about that. It wasn't just the library. Those questions were asked of every department. Have you gone down as far as on your expenses as you can? We have a couple expenses coming in the next fiscal year that they're contracts that come up every 3 years. So every 3 years we have to bump up like our licensing. We have a couple licenses that renew every 3 years. So it was very much focused on that. But it went through, and I think we just now have to wait for I think it's March 4th and 11th or something like that. Those first 2 Wednesdays in March will be the FinCom presentation. There will not be any PowerPoints. It will just be the narrative of the budget, and they will vote on it, and that's what will go to town meeting. So, and it is, it's a very, very tight budget, and there's a lot of other things on the town meeting docket, so agenda. So it'll be interesting.
Well, thank you very much for doing it, because I'm sure it was not easy.
Yeah, we are having, and I never know whether to call it level funded means you're not changing the funding. Level services means you're only raising the funds enough to give that basic service. I think we're barely at level services with the cuts that we've made. We are fortunate because we can use state aid, and we have a couple of things like trusts to dig into, but the things that are really impacted ultimately are things like salaries, which is such a big portion of the budget. So that's what will be impacted, need to be changed if and when there's an override that will ensure that we're able to continue to give people cost of living raises or whatnot. And we're not the only group. A lot of towns, a lot of businesses are dealing with this. Health insurance is still continuing to go up in the double digits. They get those numbers in the next few weeks. They budgeted for, I think, 13 or 14%. It's possible it could come in more than that. So I'll just have our fingers crossed that we can keep those costs within reason. Going on to the director's report. December was a great month. We have had a lot of transitions, as Michelle mentioned, but I just want to give a shout out to the staff. At the top of that is the public services staff who have filled in with our substitutes, but also people taking on extra shifts to cover for basically 3 people that have left. Now total 4 actually. We still have 2 positions open that we're hiring for. Although we have one hire starting next week. Yeah. One hire starting next week. We still will have 2 librarian positions open. We've been able to promote from within, which we're very excited. The whole succession planning seems to actually be working, which we're very excited about. And it's all been some great internal movement. Public services staff stepped up, but people including people like Megan and Michelle and myself have found ourselves on the desk and covering for people and answering the phone. I'm usually at the bottom of the barrel there because no one's ever sure I know how to transfer a phone call. But the staff has just done an incredible job, and in some ways in all ways it's amazing. In some ways I feel like people don't get to, it's like the swan or the duck on the surface of the water. Seems like everything's going along just fine, and what you don't see is the back room where people are like, wait, who's covering that shift? And, did you get that question? And nobody did that thing. And, but then they come out and they perform very well. And I don't think it's very noticeable at the front end. But there's a lot of hard work. And especially during the holidays, it was very challenging to make sure that we could get people in here. And like any other, we had illnesses. So I'm just really proud and amazed that the staff are able to cover during those times, and just passing that along to you all. Coming up next Monday is the MLK Day celebration over at the Performing Arts Center. I encourage you to go with that. It's very exciting. It's kind of been growing and growing each year. That's been going on for many years. And after the Human Relations Advisory Committee sort of sunsetted and the Office of Equity took it over, it's the schools, it's the Office of Equity, and just the town in general. It still has a breakfast, so there's some free food in it for you. And it's really just one of the more collaborative, well, it's one of several really collaborative events that we see in the town, and it's really nice. So I'd encourage you to come. Also, we did select our staff development day for this year. We will all be going to, we will be closed on Tuesday, May 19th. And staff will be attending the Massachusetts Library Association. It's in Danvers this year, so we can afford to send everybody there, and that way everyone can take the sessions that they want and go to the workshops, and then we'll all have lunch together, and it'll be a nice staff development day. It is a little unusual because we usually try and close on a Thursday or a Friday when we're only closed for 8 hours, but we'll be closed for the whole day Tuesday. So, but I'm sure everybody will survive. That's about it. Do you have any other questions about what happened in December? It's kind of a blur to me, actually. And the first week in January and week and a half in January, I've already been so packed that I can't remember what happened at all in 2025. I am putting together the annual report. Cappy, I'll have a draft for you probably in the next week or so to write a cover letter for that. And that goes into the town somewhere in early to mid-February. And that's for usually the calendar year 2025. So that's actually a great exercise to go through. I'm like, oh, did you know we did this and we did this and we did this? And you add it all up, we did quite a bit in 2025. I know. I have to say that, yes. The programming has been really interesting, and I'm sure you got the sense from Andrea and now from Olivia is that, what excites people about programming is changing. It changes, period. It just always changes. And so we're constantly revising. And a lot of these sort of more interactive, it's not so much lectures or author. It used to be like if you had a good author here, you'd have a packed room. Or if you had a sports speaker, you'd have a packed room. You could nail down what people would come for. And that I think it was one of these things where they're like, well, let's give it a try. And it was just a stellar success. And so yeah, so people really like the things where they walk away with something and they learn something and it's really interactive and it's a little bit of an experience. So, and those types of programs we're doing more and more of those. They did something similar with the cookie jars, and that was really popular. I think Susan ran out of sugar and flour, but they could take away mason jars of cookie. And but yeah, they had a busy month with lots of programs as usual.
Wonderful. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I just have a quick one under personnel. I see that they used to say
Cheyenne
is joining us on January 20th as a meeting room coordinator. Have we always had someone full time just to do?
She's not full time. It's 25. It's the senior library associate position. We have associates, senior associates, librarians, and senior librarians. So this is a more senior position. It requires more technology and more interaction with the public. And this is for Louise Hetherington, had that position, and she retired on December 31st.
Okay.
The reason we specify meeting room coordinators because in addition to covering the borrower services desk and the ground floor desk, she very specifically is the person that's going to be handling the meeting room. And we're actually very excited because she's very technologically savvy. So we're hoping she can help Michelle a little bit more with troubleshooting things and getting things set up. And she's also going to be helping with managing our library of things. Taking our library of things is a lot more complex than bringing in a book because a book comes with a Dewey classification, a Library of Congress MARC record. When you're trying to put a telescope or a virtual reality headset into our catalog, it takes a lot more processing, and you got to find a box for it, and you got to put the labels on the box. And so that's one of the things that Cheyenne will be doing. So Louise, it's a 25-hour-a-week position.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now we're in a process of hiring for a new, good job, Pat. Oh, Pat asked if anyone is focusing on the health aspect of the health Nook and or the health librarian. It's just the gap that Susan left. One of the things we're changing a little bit in the public services department is we've we're kind of going more generalist. So what we are looking for someone with health who's interested in health. That would be a plus. It doesn't mean that if the person doesn't have that experience, they will most likely be in charge at least of that collection and doing something like that. But we are trying to be more generalist so that we don't get in a pickle when somebody leaves, so that everybody's familiar with some of the health programming. Everybody's familiar with programming for older adults. And then older adults, because some of us in this room are older adults. So instead of having an elder services librarian, we're having adult services librarians, and they're trying to do more. And in fact, our reference department includes our teen services, and the idea is so that, yes, we have a teen services librarian. That might be what she does most of. She also needs to know how to program for adults, and our adult programming people need to understand the developmental needs and the literacy needs of teens. So we're actually trying to get away from pigeonholing our librarians. It worked well for a long time, but we're finding now with turnover and the change of pace, because it could be healthcare now, but next year or in the next 5 years, it could be have something to do with sustainability, or it could be that we have another type of need. So we're just finding we need to help our staff be more flexible and resilient, and saying like, this is the direction we're going to go now. And if it pivots in a little bit, yay for us. So, but it's a good question, and something we really struggle over, because it's a big difference between going out and saying we want a librarian that has a background in health services, and we'd like to find someone who's been working in customer service or libraries and public service, sorry, not customers, public service. If you happen to have a background in health services, it would be really nice. So,
Been bringing in a person from the town to do
correct.
trainings or
Right.
pressure.
Right.
So you can draw on external.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really relying on our internal, and I would say also too, the amount of work we do cross-departmentally within the town, working with the coalition, working with public safety, working with the health department, working with elder services, veteran services, recreation. I mean, all of that is now much stronger than it had been in the past. So we kind of almost don't need that expertise. We need to be more generalist to support the broader goals. That's it.
Thank you. Any other questions related to the director's report? Anyone? Nope. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the December 8th, 2025 meeting minutes. Do we have any questions, changes, thoughts, concerns there? If not, can I get a motion? Second. We have a quorum. He's not, Andrew's not online, is he? Okay, so. All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is future agenda items, which are listed. Technology, okay. Please.
Yeah. So next month we'll have 2 reports, one technology, patron self-service, which is a report on lockers and our self-checkouts, et cetera, et cetera. Michelle's going to talk to you a little bit about a contest that we plan to run in the springtime or in the summertime. Springtime. And the other thing is, we do have, this is on the National Registry of Historic Places. And so we do have a plaque that has not been put up. And part of the reason was we started discussing this, and I think it was in 2021 when we first produced our first land acknowledgement. And we talked about having something physically put up in the building. So I've been working with Desiree, and we've been talking about different ways to places and locations and ways to not incorporate, but pair this National Registry of Historic Places plaque. Where can that go on the building? And then what's an appropriate way for us to also have an actual land acknowledgement? So, a land acknowledgement acknowledges that this was the ancestral homes of the Massachusetts tribe. And so that was something that one of the statements, proclamations that the trustees did in 2021. And so it's something that, I believe it's something they've actually put up at the, there is a statement up at the Matera Garden, the Matera Community Gardens, and I think it's something that we would like to do here. We've done so much work with the Massachusetts Tribe and our beading project and the nation's maps and everything that I don't know if you've seen them in the library. So it's something we feel very strongly about, and we would want to talk to the trustees about whether you feel that's an appropriate space, but that's what we want to talk about with you in February.
And in March, the spring.
This is spring, yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions or any other items of business? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn? Can I get a second, please? All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned as of 7:37.